Every time I hear you say this to a client, I see their ears perk up like, oh, that makes sense. And the term is always about running an Airbnb as a rental property investment. You always tell them, now you're running a hotel.
Yeah.
And they all freeze. Like, wait, what? Explain.
Yeah.
What, it is true, but like kind of explain it for somebody who's never heard that before.
Yes. So when you're running when you buy an investment property long term, you have the same renter. They pay you every month. For the most part, you're not really dealing with it, right? You just get a check every month. Maybe you send out a plumber every once in a while, but for the most part, they're on their own and you don't really get bothered with it. When you run a short-term rental or Airbnb VRBO, in theory, somebody's checking in and out, I don't know what, every 3 days or something. So that's a hotel. And what happens, you have to go in there and clean, you have to turn the sheets over, maybe you have to have a pool cleaner come in.
You have to provide internet, you have to provide these utilities, like all this stuff.
Yeah, you have to have a game room, you got to make it cool, it's got to be, as our boy Peter says, it's got to be Instagrammable. As dumb as it sounds, that is true. So, and even he said, he's like, you're now in the hospitality business. And it's true, and most people don't realize that, oh, I can't just buy this really nice place, put it on YouTube, put it on Airbnb, and it gets rented tomorrow. That's not how it works. You have to be diligent, you have to have a manager, you have to have a cleaning crew come in. It's a hotel, for all intents and purposes. And most people, that's why they like signing with us, because they're like, nobody's ever told me that it's a hotel. They were like, oh, it's like a rental property. It's similar, but it's a lot different.
Yeah.
I don't know if Grant Cardone, the god of rental properties, I could, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't really hear him talk about like short-term rentals.
I don't know. That's a good question. I guess I haven't watched him enough, so I'm not sure.
I don't think he has.
Interesting.
I'm sure he has an opinion on it. Maybe he has some, but I mean, he's buying like big rental properties.
Yeah.
Or building them now.
Okay. So let's say I am a, first-time investor, and I do want to get into real estate. I just don't know if Airbnb is necessarily right for me. I get that it's like running a hotel. It takes a lot of work. What else should I consider about the Airbnb that makes it a hotel, makes it difficult? But again, we get these trade-offs. We get these huge tax breaks. Yep. What's something else I can consider?
One thing you want to consider, you want to invest in a software that's going to like what is this? There's AirDNA, where it gives you an estimate.
I think that's what it's called, yeah.
There's an estimate where it tells you like, oh, you need to, like, this is what we think your place would rent for. So you want to do your own research, and you also want to look up the local laws, because what did Peter say? The fines could be in like $50,000 or something. Like something.
I don't remember, and it's
like
per day.
It's something crazy,
depending on the county and city, state.
One of his big, and this Peter, he's a realtor in South Florida. We might put his info in there. So if you guys need a property or investment property, he's the guy.
Yeah.
But one thing he harps on with short-term rentals is like, know your laws, because where he lives, in the city he lives in, I believe, you can't have it, but if you just cross the city line, which is like a mile away, you can. And he's like, I've seen plenty of people buy one in the wrong city. Now it's like, crap, I've got this hotel that I didn't even really want that is now illegal. Now what do I do?
What about in terms? It's illegal.
Yeah.
What about in terms of like time? If I'm gonna run an Airbnb and I want to get all these tax breaks, I want to make sure I make some money. How much time, do I need to commit? How does that kind of work? Like, what do I consider?
Well, the one you're talking about, the tax breaks, is that how to get tax breaks, or just in general?
I'm a new investor. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, I'm not an Airbnb expert by any means. I know how the tax laws work and the benefits of it, but in terms of running day to day, I'm not sure.
So I more meant yes, in terms of there's a certain threshold, and is what I was hinting at in terms of whether you're. So in this situation, sorry, I'll be more clear. Is I want to get an Airbnb. Yeah. I know that there's certain hours I have to work to qualify.
For taxes, yeah.
There's certain just give me kind of the basics.
Yeah. So the easiest one, the IRS has 7 rules, but I'm going to give you the easiest way to qualify. You have to work in your Airbnb or materially participate 100 hours per year, and there's a caveat, it has to be more than anybody else. So if you are managing your property, and this includes like, securing it, the loan and all that stuff, setting it up, putting all the stuff in there, it has to be at least 100 hours or more than anybody else. So if you have a cleaning crew that's going in there and they're turning over the sheets, 10 times a month, and they're in there
3 days,
right, every 3 days, and they're in there 2 hours at a time, well, then you have to work, that 100 hours doesn't matter. you have to work more than that, more than them. So it is kind of a trade-off, and you have to make sure. And then once you do that, that's when we get into like the really cool stuff, how to write off and get these big losses and all these TikTok videos that you see.
Yeah. So yeah, obviously, kind of like anything, there's rules, there's caveats, there's compliance and whatnot. But let's say, right, I want to get an Airbnb. I want these tax write-offs, and I'm willing to put in the time. I get it. You know, how do I work with you, JT? Like, what do I do?
Yep. You're gonna click the link in the video, or in the description of the video. You're gonna sign up for that email list. You're gonna get 3 emails a week that tell you all these really cool tax tips. And honestly, when people join it by like the 2nd or 3rd email, they're ready to be our client. That's just kind of how it works.
Absolutely. And hey, you know what? If being your client, if the worst thing is having an Airbnb in South Florida, I can live with that. You know
Yeah. Who wants to go to Miami?
Yeah. How terrible. Who wants to enjoy that?
Yeah, Calle Ocho. Shout out Pitbull.
Yeah. Well, JT Pells, the tax quarterback. Thank you.
You got it.